97X Tampa Bay's New Rock Alternative 650 with the Morning X Fisher and Boy. A couple of clouds today, 10% chance of rain, and then sunny skies this weekend. No rain whatsoever, and you're looking your highs in the upper 80s, your overnight lows. We're finally now dipping into the 60s, possibly 69 for an overnight low. Now, yesterday in the 9 o'clock hour, Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails gave us a call to talk about his latest album and the tour and just what's going on with Nine Inch Nails. And I know there's a lot of Nine Inch Nails fans out there, and so I am more than happy to. And honestly, I respect the guy a lot. Nine Inch Nails is a huge part. I'm an old guy, being 33 and all.
I
know you wouldn't understand this at 23. And so Nine Inch Nails helped shape, everybody's my age, helped shape our musical taste one way or another. So on the phone, and I know you hate this interview because he is not the most peppy guy in the world.
Don't people usually kill themselves to Nine Inch Nails music?
No, I don't know.
They're going to kill themselves during this interview.
No, they're not. If it'll make you feel better, I'll play some Nine Inch Nails music in the background to kind of keep things.
Tap it up. All right.
All right. Is that good by you?
Sure.
Trent Reznor, how you doing?
I'm doing all right.
It's a pleasure to have you on the phone.
I appreciate you having me here.
First of all, I would like to start off a question about the origins of Nine Inch Nails. And in the late 80s, you had been with a couple of traditional bands and then started your own band with a very unique sound. And you were instrumental in changing the landscape of music back then. Now, at the time, were you not happy with the way rock and roll was? And did you have any kind of influences to push you in the direction that Nine Inch Nails ended up going?
Well, I was living in Cleveland at the time and primarily looking at myself as a keyboard player, and I was bouncing around in different local original bands. And got a job at a recording studio cleaning toilets. I could spend the night in the studio learning the equipment on my own and started working on songs. Finally got around to writing, and I couldn't find a band that shared my outlook or vision in Cleveland, and resigned to just doing it myself. And I think where my head was at was that I liked the world of electronics. I liked drum machines and sequencers and computers, and that was kind of my main instrument. But what I didn't like about the music was that it tended to sound like the way it sounds when you hook drum machines up to computers, and it sounded like synth pop, and there was a lot of sterile. It wasn't tough enough,
right?
And I think at that time there was a record label out of Chicago called Wax Trax that had bands that were getting into electronics that were almost heavy metal amount of power coming out. They were abusing electronics, and there was bands like Skinny Puppy and Ministry at the time. They were making music that couldn't have existed before because the technology didn't exist, but it was doing it in an exciting way, and it kind of just clicked with me. And that was probably my biggest influence stylistically, but when I started writing songs, I think probably growing up out in a cornfield in rural Pennsylvania for 18 years, AM radio and traditional rock radio kind of embedded in my brain the need for choruses and hooks. And what happened was this weird kind of synthesis of some of the harder elements of the stylistic music I was listening to with, I think, more traditional hooky songwriting. And then if I self-analyze myself, I think that's why it kind of broke out of the box and got a bigger appeal than some of the bands that I was influenced by commercially, because it was more accessible.
Talking about some of the bands that you were influenced by, Ministry and Skinny Puppy. Now, I read somewhere along the lines, and I've always wondered if this is true, that also one of your early influences was Prince.
Yeah, I happen to be in Minneapolis right now, so it feels magical that you just said.
Is it because you connected with him as being somebody who could play multiple instruments?
Yeah, there was a few reasons. I thought, one, he was an interesting character that, like, where did this guy come from? That was against the grain, doing his own thing, was a synthesis of rock and funk and R&B. Also, as a multi-instrumentalist, I found myself stuck in the studio, and I remember saying to myself, I remember reading he worked in the studio and got to work on demos at night. He does everything by himself. Well, maybe I can do it. As kind of stupid as that sounds, it was it was something to relate to. It was somebody to be inspired by.
Now, the landscape, the musical landscape has obviously changed since Pretty Hate Machine. Within the last 5 years or so, are you looking around? Do you see the next Prince or the next Trent Reznor? Do you see anybody that excites you, or has the music industry become very blah for you?
Well, I'm flattered you put Prince and I in the same sentence like that. But can I say right off the top of my head that I think the next great X is of this guy right here. Nothing comes to the surface. But, aside from the style of music changing, I think that the business of music and record labels and the way music is consumed and presented to the consumer has changed in such a way. Everything feels very corporate and marketed to me right now. And it feels like, not to talk myself up, but when we first came out, our record label didn't understand what we were. We didn't have radio, we didn't have MTV, and what we could do is just get in a van and keep touring. And we'd open for anybody, and then we started headlining the same clubs we opened for people. And about the fifth time around the country, in a period of a year, started to see the same people and their friends and their friends' friends. And it felt like there was a genuine appreciation of the band that wasn't coming from an iPod commercial, and it wasn't coming from a slick marketing campaign. It felt pretty grassroots and legitimate. And I think what happens a lot today is record labels have gotten shrewder in terms of the way they market things. And a lot of acts you're meant to like because they're the next big thing. And then at the end of the day, after you find yourself trying to like this thing, it's okay, but it's not great. With that said, Arcade Fire is a band that I think came out of nowhere that show incredible promise to me.
Trent Reznor on the phone, and we'll be coming through town here in just a little over a week. I know you've been asked a lot about the cover of Hurt. Now, I want to ask you about another cover AFI did of Head Like a Hole. What did you think of that, and what do you think of AFI?
I know Davey. He's a sweetheart, good guy. And they asked me if I would work on that cover, and I had to say no because I can't reproduce a song I produced in the first place.
Right.
It felt like I'm just going to make it the way it is already. But I stopped in the studio while they were doing it, and it's flattering. Anytime somebody cares enough about your work to do a cover, AFI being one example, Johnny Cash being another, it's very flattering. It's a flattering thing to have happen, and I appreciate it.
Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, was a pleasure and an honor to have you on the phone.
Well, thanks very much.
And now all I have to do is get Prince on the phone one day, and my career is complete.
Yeah, but don't ask him about me because it'll hurt my feelings.
No, all right. Fair enough. Nine Inch Nails with Queens of the Stone Age. That'll be the St. Pete Times Forum on October 22nd. Looking forward to seeing you then.
Thanks.
There you go, Trent Reznor. Wait, see, that's not so bad. And with the music under that, you got to understand, man. Nine Inch Nails is huge to this format. You're just too young to understand that.
Yes, I appreciate what they do for the format, but I'm just saying the guy needs to pep it up when he comes on.
This is almost like getting Bono on the phone for crying out loud.
Do you think he was more exciting when he was on drugs?
Nope. It is 6:57 with the Morning X, Fisher and Boy.
Be on the alert for any information about this.
97X Traffic.
Traffic is brought to you in part by Hess Express. East 131st Avenue at Bruce B. Downs Boulevard, we've got an accident reported. Also, Memorial Highway southbound at Spruce Street, we've got a 3-car crash on the south end of TIA. Traffic is backing up there. And I-275 southbound at East Sly Avenue, we have an accident there blocking the left lane. This is a multi-car crash. Authorities are on the scene, and backups are up to Bierce Avenue at this point. Need the right wine tonight? Turn to the experts at ABC Fine Wine and Spirits Wine Country for the perfect choice at a great price. Stop by today and see for yourself. I'm Kelly Crane with traffic on 97X.
Add a line for $9.99. Add a line for $9.99. Add a line for $9.99. Add a line.
Jenny?
Yes, Dad.
Is there something on your mind?
Funny you should ask. Don't you think, dear sweet Dad, don't you think it's time I had my own Verizon wireless phone?
Well...
Dad, oh my gosh, right now with the new family share plan, you get unlimited in-calling, unlimited nights and weekends, and 700 anytime minutes all when calling from the America's Choice coverage area on 2 lines for only $69.99 monthly access. Plus, you can add a line for me for only $9.99 with 2-year agreement.
Stop. Breathe. Okay. Add a line for $9.99. It's yours.
Dad, you are so cool.
Know what else is cool? Right now at Verizon Wireless, you can buy one phone and get one free on select phones, each with 2-year agreement. Verizon Wireless. We never stop working for you. $35 activation and $175 termination fees per line and other charges and restrictions. Coverage not available everywhere.